They came into the fourth quarter down 21-6, a deficit that looked like it would be a quiet night for the Tennessee Titans. Instead, it turned into one of the wildest, most improbable comebacks of the early season, a 22-21 win in Arizona that hinged on a flurry of bizarre, game-altering moments. It began the way most blowouts do, the Cardinals imposing their will. Arizona's offense had momentum, and late in the third quarter, Emari Demercado ripped off a long run that seemingly broke the game open. For a moment, it looked like a 72-yard touchdown, the kind of play that snuffs out any hope of a comeback. Then, replay reversed that on-field call. What initially drew a roar from the crowd turned into stunned silence. The play was ruled a touchback instead of a touchdown. In the blink between how the ball behaved in the heat of the moment and how it looked under review, Arizona's lead evaporated, not in score, but in margin that could have been insurmountable. Demercado's reaction afterward was raw and human. "I just made a mistake," he said, admitting the moment of carelessness. It's a concise, honest confession. He fumbled at the goal line, and the ball ended up out of play. That one play mattered more than anyone in the stadium could have imagined. Instead of a potential 28-6 rout, the Cardinals remained up only by 2 possessions, and football, as it always does, handed Tennessee another lifeline. The Titans seized that lifeline with the kind of suddenness that leaves fans breathless. Tennessee scored, and a missed extra point by Arizona, yes, a missed pat after the Cardinals finally put points on the board again, kept the door ajar. Then came the chaotic play that will be replayed in highlight reels for weeks. Titans rookie quarterback Cam Ward threw an interception in the red zone. That should have been the dagger. Instead, the defender who picked it up bobbled the ball. It ricocheted. It was a manic scramble of leather and jerseys. After 2 or 3 heart-stoppings that felt like an eternity, Tyler Lockett, the veteran wideout who had already been a reliable playmaker, fell on the ball in the end zone. An interception flipped into a defensive touchdown. The scoreboard flipped. The crowd reeled. Suddenly, Tennessee was right back in the game. Those are the kind of plays that make coaches swear under their breath and analysts reach for the phrase, turning point. They're also the plays that reveal a game's cruel randomness. Arizona's defensive lineman, who had done so much right, saw the ball dislodge and lie in a small, unpredictable pool of chaos. The opportunity was gone in a blink. But Tennessee didn't stop there. The Titans, now energized, executed a critical drive late in the game. A clutch 3rd and 2 saw Ward find Calvin Ridley for a 38-yard strike, a play that shifted field position and momentum instantly. Ridley, who had struggled to find consistent separation earlier, flashed big playability when it mattered most. With time draining, Tennessee maneuvered into field goal range. Joey Slye, who had earlier missed a pat that felt like a harbinger of doom, redeemed himself when it counted. His 29-yard walk-off field goal split the uprights and sealed the comeback, completing a sequence that reads like a graduate thesis on improbable outcomes. Goal line tumble negated interception fumble turned defensive TD, surgical late drive, and a kicker making amends for earlier wobbles. The final line, Titans 22, Cardinals 21, masks the chaotic beauty of how it unfolded. What does this win mean for Tennessee? For one thing, it's their first victory of the season, moving them to 1-4. That's a small statistical consolation, but momentum and belief are enormously underrated in the NFL. Cam Ward earned his first win as a starter, and in the process, the Titans found a blueprint for late-game poise they desperately needed. It's the sort of victory that can, if managed correctly, change a locker room's tone. For Arizona, the result is a painful lesson in how tiny margins and odd, fluky plays can decide outcomes. Emari Demercado's drop touchdown will be examined on film until the next game, and rightly so. The Cardinals held a dominant lead and then watched it peel away in a handful of unpredictable sequences. They'll need to settle the small, combustible details, ball security on the goal line, finishing drives cleanly, and ensuring that turnovers are turned into permanent change of possession moments rather than gifted second chances. There are broader takeaways beyond the scoreboard. This game reminded everyone how fragile momentum is in football. Teams that appear to be coasting can find themselves scrambling because of one overturned call. Vice versa, a team facing a rout can be revived by a single chaotic play. The NFL's parity at its best comes from this exact unpredictability. One miscue, one lucky bounce, one boneheaded error by an otherwise solid defense, and we've got a thriller. It also casts a spotlight on the human element. Players make mistakes. Officials miss things in real time. Replay can correct some errors, but not others. A guy like Demercado, who will beat himself up over an error, is still the player who gave his team a chance. Bad plays don't erase the good ones. For Cam Ward and Tyler Lockett, the night was a study in resilience. Ward kept his composure in the pocket when the game was tight, and Lockett showed his mettle by turning chaos into points. Coaches, too, were decisive. Tennessee's play calling on that late drive, the decision to go vertical when it counted, was the difference between overtime and the walk-off kick. Finally, consider the narrative arcs. Sports are often about redemption. Joey Slye's missed extra point could have been the moment that haunted him, but instead he got to be the one who delivered salvation. For Demercado, this will be a spine-stiffening memory he will be determined to rectify in future games. For Titans fans, the result provides a spark of optimism amid a season that had started poorly. Sunday's game in Arizona will be remembered not because of a single great play, but because of the strange symmetry of football's unpredictability. A dropped touchdown, an intercepted pass that became a touchdown, and a clutch drive capped by redemption from a kicker. Those ingredients made for a finish that felt equal parts messy and marvelous. On a league calendar full of predictable outcomes and meticulous game plans, this was a reminder that sometimes the sport's most compelling stories are written not by X's and O's, but by the small, ugly human moments that turn losses into unforgettable comebacks. Will Rijkaard's 51-yard field goal attempt late in Sunday's Browns game had everything a kicker dreads. It looked like it was headed straight through the uprights, then took a hard right and sailed well wide. On replay, there's a very plausible reason why. The ball appears to clip a Skycam cable on its way up. The image isn't crystal clear enough to be absolutely definitive, but slow-motion angles show a diagonal camera cable crossing the ball's flight path, just as the ball hits the apex of its trajectory. At that instant, the ball's flight visibly changes direction and then misses the goal by a wide margin. To anyone watching in real time, it looked like an ordinary, inexplicable miss. On replay, it looks like outside equipment intervened. If the ball did strike the cable, the rules are straightforward. The kick should have been nullified and the Vikings awarded a re-kick. But no official on the field flagged it, Minnesota didn't challenge, and Rijkaard himself never drew attention to the incident. The Browns took over on downs and held a 17-14 lead. Rijkaard's perfect start to the season took a hit. His streak ended. But the missed kick didn't wind up deciding the game. Minnesota rallied later and ultimately won 21-17, so the error didn't alter the final result.